Black Panther Wakanda Forever is officially in theaters now, and in today's video we're going to be diving in and comparing Black Panther to Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. Now this is a versus match, a head-to-head fight. I love doing this with sequels, and if you also enjoy videos like this, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below your guys' thoughts. We're going to have down below in the description what I'm going to be versing. We have 9 categories. We're going to have a definitive winner today. Let me know down below who your winner would be, but without further ado, let's dive into this right now. Coming up first, we have Better Villain, and in here we have Killmonger versus Namor. Now, both of them are heavy hitters in my opinion. I love what they were able to do with Namor in here, and really much the same thing that they did with Killmonger so well is make you really understand and thrive both characters' ideologies. But I think Killmonger was a little bit better done in that category. Namor, for the most sense, and again, this might be spoilers for Wakanda Forever, so if you haven't seen it yet, does some despicable shit in here. He ends up killing Mama Bear to our Grand Shuri, who's left. And he also ends up just flooding all of Wakanda. This guy does some despicable shit to that. I mean, that's not gone against Killmonger as well as what he had done. But the difference between Killmonger and Namor for me, I find that Michael B. Jordan just got a little bit more material to work with, as well as I just think Michael B. Jordan gives one of the best performances in the entire MCU. With that said, our first winner is the first Black Panther with Killmonger. Next, we have Best Character Moment. Now, this one was tough because we have Black Panther and Black Panther 2, and I was really much going with the main character that you get here. Obviously, in the original Black Panther, we had T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, and in this one, we have Shuri, played by Letitia Wright, who does an amazing job as the new Black Panther. I really enjoyed the performance that she gave in here, and I'm really digging the new suit. But what I will say is that, first off, there's not a ton of action in here. And I think for character moment, when we're looking at our main characters in general, the best thing that Shuri gives in here is sparing Namor's life. Where in the original Black Panther, there's a couple things in there that really define what T'Challa was. He was a noble warrior that at the same time never gave in to what he could have done, like his father did. But I think his biggest character moment is actually listening to what Killmonger was saying and opening up the doors to Wakanda and doing what his father would not, but doing what Killmonger would do, but in a better light. So in that way, the first Black Panther wins. Just so we understand, this is like a very close race. I love both of these movies, and when we're looking at all these categories, these are the same categories that I use for all of the movies that I've seen so far, that I've done comparisons like this. So I understand both movies are completely different in tone, specifically because of the ramifications, everything going on, but I still thought it would be fun to talk about. We get to my number 3, which is Best Score, and in this opinion, I actually think Black Panther 2 has the better score. Ludwig does both of the movies in such a grandiose way, and he did win Best Score for the original Black Panther, and probably, yes, that was my favorite score of that year. But it's hard to deny how strong Ludwig comes in here, whether it's the themes in Talokan and everything with Namor, or even some of the new tidbits that he puts into the Wakandan themes as well. But for me, there's these sweet little guitar riffs in here, like these acoustic guitar riffs, that really hit those emotional sweet spots for me and actually gave me nostalgic memories of hearing The Last of Us score for the first time. And I'm a major fan of that video game series, so that's why Black Panther 2 is actually going to win this. I think Ludwig did a better job this time around. Just crazy to think, but it's true. We get into my number 5, which is probably the hardest one for me to actually detail, and that is Better Story. Both having completely different stories, but both having great thematical avenues, whether it's the first Black Panther and what it's dealing with there within race, and even just certain things and how they can establish and help other people. And then Black Panther 2 dealing with the cycle of violence, grief, trauma. All the themes are as strong as one another, but one of the things that I really want to touch in here, why I'm going to award someone this, is due to the fact of plotting and editing. This is kind of my tiebreaker for this, and I think the original Black Panther was a little bit more simple in its execution and actually handling Wakanda and its mythology. When it comes down to Black Panther 2, I have some slight issues when it comes about building up the MCU and building up new things. Like everything with Everett Ross, I liked, but I honestly think you could have done a couple rewrites to get rid of that character and even get rid of some of the things within there. But of course, they have to set up Valentine. And then, of course, you even have some of the stuff with Ironheart, which I really liked Ironheart in here. I'm a major fan. I never knew I would be this excited for a show after watching her debut. But there's something about that where I feel like a couple more rewrites, you probably could have gotten rid of that character. Or in general, just not made her the character that she is in this all the way with having the suit and everything like that. But at the same time, I did like that. It's just, again, I would have liked them to just focus more on Wakanda and Namor itself. That's why at my number 5, better story is the original Black Panther. If you're keeping score right now, the original Black Panther has 3 wins, Black Panther 2 has 1. But maybe that'll change on this next one where we get into better side characters. Now, this one was tough because I think, again, a lot of the side characters are the same in both. But Black Panther 2 does have the added bonus of adding Namor, Atuma, and all of the people of Talokan. So, and plus even Ironheart. So this is actually where I'm definitively going to say I think Black Panther 2 is the better film for side characters. And a lot of that goes because a lot of these side characters did get the added bonus. They moved on up throughout the story, and in general, they were given more meat because of everything kind of going on. And I do think what Ryan Coogler was able to deliver specifically, and again, those themes and grievance, and just in general, the grief and loss that these characters have to feel, I think was very important, and they all come to excel in their performances. That's why Black Panther 2 wins this one. Now we're at 3-2. What we got up next is the better ending. Now, this one's going to be tough because I think both films have an amazing ending, but what I want to look at more is the third act. And while I think the original Black Panther is like a perfect movie, and I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever is almost a perfect movie, looking at the endings, I prefer Wakanda Forever's ending. It's an emotional, it hits that heart, and it also just has the stronger third act, in my opinion. I think the original Black Panther falters into some visual effects issues, which is totally fine to have. Like every film, not every film has perfect visual effects, and that's completely okay. But there was something about the visual effects in this movie, and specifically everything that they built up about the third act, all of this war, this epic nature between Talokan and Wakanda, and what it was building up to, and specifically the last fight between Shuri and Namor. And while I think there's maybe a little bit too many endings in this, seeing the ending and seeing Shuri burning her white clothes, and then the credits come up and Lift Me Up from Rihanna plays, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes into that mid-credit scene, which is one of the best. I think it's easily the best ending out of the films, and that's why Black Panther 2 wins. Now, at this point, it's 3-3. It's tied, and now we are looking at better surprises in the movie. Now, better surprises could be a cameo, an Easter egg, anything of that nature, maybe even a twist in the story itself. Now, for me, with better surprises, I actually am going to give this to Black Panther. This one was a very close and tight race as well, because again, Black Panther 2 has a lot of surprises, specifically because T'Challa had a child, which, even though it's a surprise, I think to most people, I kind of had a theory on this for quite a while, and I actually think a lot of this movie is actually a bit predictable when it comes down to certain things, and really much when it looks at just a cameo, the biggest surprise I had in here was, holy shit, Valentine's in here. I did not know that Louise Dreyfus was going to appear in this, but she happens to be. And it was kind of entertaining and kind of cool to see that, but again, I didn't love her stuff too much. But when we look at the first Black Panther, and you actually see that twist of what happened with T'Chaka and his brother, and then his brother and how pretty much he had a son, Killmonger, who was never given the chance. While again, maybe that twist was a little bit seen, I found certain elements in there to just be more important, more surprising in a certain manner, and specifically some of the allies that get changed and turned over. And even the fact that they technically killed T'Challa for a bit of this film, I thought was very important. And just in general, some of the twists and turns on certain character choices, like M'Baku actually rescuing T'Challa and keeping him there in the snow. Again, a lot of stuff I really liked. And that's why right now we're at 4-3. The original Black Panther is winning. And our next category we have is better visual effects, which hands down I'm going to give this to Black Panther 2. I think Black Panther 2 for me has the hands down best visual effects of the MCU Phase 4 thus far. There's very rarely any visual effects grievances that I had in this movie, whereas when I look at all the other movies in Phase 4 so far, and I'm just talking about the movies, I'm not talking about the shows, I'm not going to compare those, I have issues with almost every single Phase 4 movie when it comes down to visual effects. There's issues with Doctor Strange. There's issues with Thor: Love and Thunder, which those visual effects are actually pretty good, but some of the volume looks a little bit off and weird at times. And then, of course, you have the Eternals with the Deviants not looking great. Black Widow with a third messy act. And certain things like this, but I found that Black Panther 2, when comparing to the visual effects in the first one, that last fight scene, which it doesn't bother me too much, could have been a little bit touched up better, but I do find the visual effects to be stronger in Wakanda Forever and probably the strongest in some of the MCU films thus far, which is actually kind of shocking because this film felt like it was never going to make it out of development. Now we come back down and both are tied, and for our final tiebreaker, best hero moment. Now we had best character moment, and that's more on the character itself, but when I talk about best hero moment, it comes down to a badass moment that the main title character got to do, and that is Black Panther. So we're looking at Shuri and Chadwick once again. And for me, when you look at T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, and Shuri, Letitia Wright, Shuri got some awesome moves. And my favorite one was probably her swinging around on the ship, scratching down and fighting off the Talcons. I thought that was a lot of fun. And of course, the whole fight scene with Namor was freaking awesome. But nothing will compare to T'Challa. And for me, his best hero moment is finally taking down Eric Killmonger. And while, again, the visual effects might not be strong in there, everything was kind of building up to that moment. And then seeing the conclusive fight of where he takes him onto that cliffside and Eric Killmonger falls over and dies. I found that to be so enthralling, so important, so awesome. That's not the best hero moment in all of the movies so far. Well, we could argue about that all day. So with that said, the winner is Black Panther. I enjoyed this movie more. I like this movie. I love this movie. But that's no hit against Wakanda Forever. Again, this was a close and tight race, and I can't wait to see your guys' thoughts and see what you guys decide on down below in the comment section. So again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. We're going to be doing one of these with the brand new Avatar movie coming up very soon with Avatar Way of the Water and the original Avatar. If you can't tell, really a big fan of that. And look forward to a couple more Black Panther Wakanda Forever videos. I really do appreciate all of you guys. So with all that said, until next time, stay classy.